Welcome back. My name is Juaquin Lonelodge, and this is Making Regalia. We're coming up to another episode right now. Last time we finished up doing actual design work with material. Today we're going to talk about doing some beadwork. Beadwork is more essential to most powwows. You can go to most powwows out there. You'll see different styles of beadwork, to your contemporary design work, to your more traditional design work, family designs, tribal designs. And today, what I want to get is I want to show you step by step on how I get my beadwork ready to bead. We're going to use different materials such as crib felt. That material right there, I like to use it because it holds the beads down perfectly. And underneath it, it's white, so it actually brings out the colors that you use as far as your beads. It makes them more vibrant, and since it is waterproof, it actually makes the beadwork that you design and make a little bit more durable, so it'll last a little bit longer. It's kind of a more contemporary material to use. I know my grandmothers, before then, always used buckskin. But being a powwow dancer as myself, my moccasins from a long time ago used to wear out really quick. So this, I kind of go behind my grandmother's back to actually make. Hopefully she doesn't see this episode, but this is actually how I do my moccasins. And today, I'm actually going to be designing my daughter's beadwork. My daughter dances fancy shawl and jingle. And today we're actually going to do a matching set. So I'm going to show you step by steps actually how to get your pieces ready to bead going forth from here. Now, going into beadwork, there's a lot of different styles out there. You have your gourd stitch, you have your flat stitch, and you also have your lazy stitch. Lazy stitch, as far as I've ever known, has always been your more traditional style design. I've seen my grandmother do a lot of different dresses and a lot of different beadworks using this style. And I've tried it before, and it was actually the first style I ever tried to do beadwork. It took me a little bit of time because I'm not really that fluent as far as my grandmother, because I know she's done it more times than I have. It's kind of hard to work with because you have to actually pierce buckskin and come back and go through it a couple of times. Right here I do have an example of some kind of lazy stitch beadwork here. These are actually a little girl's beadwork leggings, and if you can see, this is actually done on buckskin. You'll see the little lines and stuff. What they'll do is actually pierce inside the buckskin, bead, and then come back through and pierce it again and come back and loop it back and forth. On your fully beaded outfits, when you use lazy stitch, you'll see a long line, and then you'll see another indention, and you'll see the other lines of beads and stuff. So you'll always see an indention mark, and that's kind of how you can tell that stitch mark is actually from the lazy stitch beadwork style. Now, there are other styles out there as far as gourd stitch too. That one is actually kind of beading on as far as a gourd to staffs to sticks. That incorporates beads going around in a circle and then interlooping them all the way through it. So you'll have one row interlooping onto another row, interlooping onto another row. That style is pretty wicked as far as I'm concerned. It's one style that I haven't really perfected, and kudos to everybody that has. It's just, I just haven't really figured it out. To me, mine always comes out looking like a little flared out dress. I mean, I haven't got it down just yet. More practice, I think I might be able to get it, but kudos to everybody that does gourd stitch out there. The stitch that I've been accustomed to and that I've kind of fallen into, and the one that I actually find very time efficient, is actually the flat stitch. This is my kind of the style I love to bead this way. I can knock out a lot of my productivity really quick doing this style of beadwork. Plus, it helps when I actually do my design work. It actually allows me to do rounded edges and straight edges faster than it would your traditional lazy stitch. So what we're going to do is I'm going to get these pieces ready first, and I'll get to on how the technique on how to do the flat stitch. Traditionally, beads have always been a part of Native American culture. We I've always got, we first started getting beads a long time ago, trading, you know, for different goods and stuff. And we never actually had beads in the very beginning, but now it's been so common that, you know, as soon as you go to Powell's, you'll see all styles of beadwork. You know, you'll show, there's a lot of different tribes that have their own significant designs that they like to incorporate with their beadwork. As far as geometrics, and today along, you know, there is also styles of contemporary styles of beadwork too. Now what we're going to do is I'm going to show you actually a step-by-step on actually how I get all my beadwork ready to go. And since we're going to do some leggings are a little bit more complicated, but I'll show you how I do it, and you know, hopefully you can take it upon yourselves to kind of show your own style and maybe come up with your own techniques and stuff. But this is kind of how I do my technique. Like I said, you know, I'm going to start a new set for my daughter. I plan to have like a matching set for her, so when we go out to Powell's, you know, at least we'll match and stuff. What I want to do is I'll show you actually how I designed her moccasin. Now, you see I've used actually just regular copy paper. I like using this because, you know, even if you mess up, you know, you can just trash it and go and do it again and do it again. And, you know, really, you know, as far as price-wise, you know, you're not really spending a lot of money. So what I did is I actually drew her foot out here, and always what you want to do is, like, since you're making moccasins and you want these to last a little bit longer, always try to make them a little bit bigger so they'll actually have time to grow into them and they'll actually be able to use them a lot. So here, I've got this template here where I drew out her foot. I'm actually going to use that to cut out rawhide. But I'm not going to actually do the exact foot line. I'm probably going to go a little bit, probably maybe a quarter of an inch, a little bit bigger around the foot. That way, you know, she'll have a little bit of time to grow into them. Now, you'll see that on this flip side, I actually cut out what I want the moccasin to look like. This takes a little bit of time, you know, a little trial and effort. I used the footprint that I had before, and then I kind of cut out probably about a quarter of an inch, no, probably about a half an inch around the foot. And so, and when I actually have her here, I cut up the slit right up the middle and slit here. That's kind of how the traditional moccasins kind of sit. But if you see, when I actually fold it up and turn it, I've got my own little paper moccasin. And that's kind of how I want it to look, and that's how, you know, like if I was using buckskin, this is actually what it would look like. But sometimes using paper, you know, I can mess it up, I can do this over again, but that's how I get my moccasins from there. Now her leggings, I did pretty much the same thing. What I did is I measured around her, her ankle to her calf muscle, and then what I did is I actually did the length of it. And since we're going to do kind of a northern style, you know, I want these ones to actually kind of go around her leg instead of like the traditional southern style buckskin legging. So, and then what I also did is I cut like two little niches right here. This will actually go in front of her foot, so the legging won't actually spin around. So if you see, once I got this rounded, the legging will come out just looking just perfectly like that. You'll also see when I do cut this, it is actually at an angle because, you know, you have to incorporate the calf muscle and whatnot. So once again, you know, the legging will come out looking like this. Now, since I got my templates here, what I want to do is start using like my base materials to get my materials ready to bead. What I like to use is a little bit of harder, stiffer paper. This allows it to give it a little bit of stiffness. Now, like I said, you know, we're going to start using kind of a stiffer material. This kind of gives it a little bit of stability. I actually use these templates to cut this out. This right here is art paper. As far as sketch paper, sketch pads and stuff, I kind of use this because the density is a little bit better, and it'll actually hold my beadwork together. And plus, for the legging, it'll actually give it stability to hold up all the beadwork and stuff. And so, what I did is, you know, I traced this onto like my sketch paper here, and then I just cut this out. Now you'll see I have a little bit of masking tape here. Don't even worry about that. That's just because I actually ran out of paper and I actually had to add this in here. So don't even worry about that. So that'll just be here. And you know, if you do mess up, that's kind of a trick that I do, is I kind of masking tape it in. You don't want to use too much masking tape because sometimes it is hard to actually bead through this. So we have this, and then what we also have here is crib felt. Crib felt you can find at your most fabric stores, even Walmart. Crib felt is pretty durable material. If you see, it's not pliable. It doesn't really stretch, which is a good thing when you're actually beading. The other part, I like about it is this white underneath. And if you see, if you're dealing with glass beads, it makes them, when you set it against the crib felt, it makes them more vibrant, and it brings out your color tone altogether. So what we're going to do is we're going to use our trusty heat bond, which we've used in our last episodes. I'm going to actually heat bond over here, and then apply the crib felt on top of that, and then cut this out, and then we'll have our pieces ready to actually to design for our beadwork. So now when it comes to the part where we're going to heat bond this tracing paper, well, actual sketch pad paper, and then we're going to apply it to the crib felt. If you see, it's just like regular, like when we worked with it last time. I'm just going to put the adhesive side down onto the paper, and then take my iron and go over it. Now, like I said, like a long time ago, like in our last episodes, I said you might want to get an iron that you really don't want to, kind of deal with, or, iron your actual work clothes with. Because, working with like materials like this, you're going to get it gunked up, and after time, you'll have materials on here, and you don't want to iron your clothes and actually transfer materials onto your work clothes. So what I did here is it got like the heat bond ready, kind of hot. And if you see, I kind of have a little overlay of the heat bond. All I'm going to do is just cut this out. Now, doing this, this isn't, I wouldn't say like a traditional style of moccasins. I've had moccasins all through my life that, I've always had buckskin and always had traditional style. And I remember once that, it was like, after doing all, like learning actually how to make regalia, I kind of feel bad that a long time ago there was a story that I do have. My mom actually bought me a brand new set of partially beaded moccasins, which are kind of like your leggings here. I didn't really understand that. I was just a kid, and I was actually in tiny tots. And the first time I wore them, this buckskin is very bright, even when it was brand new. I remember I was still in tiny tots, and I had my little bustles on, and I saw a mud puddle, and I jumped right in it and pretty much ruined them. My mom was elated, mad at me, and I didn't understand why. I just, I was just a kid. But learning, after making regalia, it does take a lot of time. And hopefully my daughter doesn't actually backfire and do the same thing for these ones, because I don't know what I would do. But you see, what I did is, going back to this, I heat bonded this, and now all I got to do is pull the adhesive and actually add it to my crib felt. So what we're going to do is I'm going to finish up ironing this real quick to get all the adhesive down. And I think I've talked about working with this before. You kind of want to give it a little bit of time to actually cool down, because the adhesive is still melted on there, and it gives it a little bit of time to actually cool down. The adhesive will stay onto the paper that you're working with. So just let it cool for a second. And while it's cooling, I'm going to go ahead and do this one too. So. Now, like what I stated before, this is kind of a more contemporary style of doing beadwork as far as getting these pieces ready, because you're not actually using buckskin, which is the more traditional style. This is kind of more material, but if you see with this other style of beadwork that I have, it's fully beaded. And if I was doing moccasins, all this would actually be buckskin. So, got this done. Just like the other one, I'm just going to cut out my piece that I'm going to be working with. Straight up. So out there, if my grandma Charlotte's watching me, you know, just kind of overlook me. You know I should be making traditional style moccasins, but sorry, Grandma. It's just sometimes, you know, like this style is a little bit more durable. I promise I'll make some traditional style ones. Just overlook me on this one. And there we go. And so we got this piece done earlier. So all I've got to do now is just pull the paper off here, and the adhesive will actually stay to the paper that we're working with. And come on. There we go. Pull this paper off. Yeah. Okay, good to go. So now all we need to do is take our crib felt, place it down, use our iron again. Let it sit for a minute because, you know, it's still melting. But once it does cool, you know, this will be attached perfectly on here. And now all we got to do is cut this out. Earlier I already cut the other side out, so pretty much you can kind of get an idea of what this is going to look like. You know, you have a clean slate, and it's very bright, vibrant, and this allows you to use pencil, pens. You can design anything that you want perfectly right on here. So you can use traditional designs, you know, family designs, anything that you want. And the cool part is, you know, you have a really good stiffness here that, you know, it's pretty pliable, but, you know, it doesn't, it's going to be pretty durable and last you a couple of years. Here, I've already got this already designed out. This is going to be my daughter's legging. Here, you'll see I have my little bit of ledger work, and then I have our matching designs. I'm going to do the exact same color combination, so this will actually be yellow in here and with the border of blue, also correlating with the other colors of my beadwork to her beadwork. So when we come together, it'll look just like that. They'll have a little warrior on one side. I'm going to do another one with the warrior coming in, so it looks like they'll be matching, but, you know, they'll actually be coming in together and probably fighting at the same time. If you see, like, this material here, this crib felt, it's really easy to work with. You'll see I have my trace marks, and I also have my permanent pin. I like to do that because it's, you can actually erase on here. I'd like to do my sketch of art kind of real faint at first, and to get like everything where I actually want it. And then from there, I'll come out with a permanent pin and put it in permanent. If you'll see, here, you know, I've kind of drawn my little warrior out, and it's not really darkened just yet because I wanted to fine tune that. And once I fine tune it, you know, that's when I'll use my permanent pin. From here, you know, I can do anything I want. I'm going to design like his shield real quick. Real easy design that I kind of come up with. But, you know, don't be afraid to work with this and, you know, use erasers. Like I said, the first times I've done it, just kind of go real soft with your pencil until you kind of figure out what design you really want to do. That way, you know, you can erase and, you know, kind of, you don't really damage the material that much. Because if you kind of go with the permanent and try to erase, you'll see I messed up earlier on one of these triangles I was going to do, and I tried to erase it, and it kind of got dark. And, you know, if you're a perfectionist like me, it's kind of annoying to myself. So just kind of, like I said, you know, just go over it real gentle until you actually, so you see what design you want to do, and from there, you can fine tune it from there. So here, I'm just going to design it, kind of feeling like this little design here. And we're good. And, you know, later on I'm going to come over with this with permanent marker, permanent pin. That way all my designs are perfect in the way I want them. And, you know, I know there are some people out there that kind of aren't comfortable with freehanding like this. this kind of took me a little time to do, and maybe you don't actually have the technical ability to do this. There are, shortcuts the way you can do this. You can always find pictures off the internet, use copy machines. That way you can cut out the actual design that you want, maybe put them on here like we've done before, make templates, and then you can trace it out, have your design perfectly just the way you want it, and trace it onto this material, and you'll have your beadwork. So there are times, you can do that if you don't feel comfortable actually freehanding. So that's why, the internet is pretty cool that you can find a lot of different designs out there. So this week, we've got our pieces ready to bead. I'm going to go through here and finish up all these other pieces, get them ready. Get all my design work as far as using my sketch pencils and my pins. We'll go through here and put like all these designs to correlate my beadwork, and then from there, kind of decide what kind of colors scheme that I'm going to use. For my last beadwork, I used different colors for every single warrior. And I asked my daughter, what color she wanted. Of course, she wanted pink. I'm not really too happy with doing pink warriors, but my daughter gets what she wants, so I'll have to figure out how I'm going to do that. I know you'll be designing for your kids and for yourself, so you'll have to do your own color coordinations too. So the recap, the materials that we're working with, this is just crib felt material, which you can find at most material stores, Walmart, anywhere else you can find it. And the other part is this is actually from sketch pads. This is sketching paper. It's a little bit more stiff and also heat bond. And going on through beading, you also have to figure out what style of beads that you're going to use. Your glass cut beads or your regular beads, plus your different sizes. Your different sizes will incorporate, like the smaller beads. It's going to take you a little bit more time, but you also have a more vibrant design. So once you get all your beads ready to go, you'll have your correlating sizes of the needles and your beads. This way you'll have all your materials. On the next episode, I'm going to show you the technique and the mechanics on how I do my flat stitch beading. Flat stitch is pretty simple. You don't have to be a world-class beader. It's very easy, and it's one of the more efficient styles of beading that I think of. So when you go to your local craft store, you'll see there's different styles of needles, different styles of threads. You'll have to just figure out which one you're more accustomed to and which one you're more comfortable with. I use the little smaller size 11 needles. I find it's easier to work with those ones, and you'll actually see that there is actually different densities as far as the threads. Hey, you might have kind of noticed in the background here, I have a set of bustles. These bustles are very dear to me. Throughout my life, I've always watched my late dad, Doyle Lonelodge, growing up, watching him dance with these bustles. And that's kind of what I want to do is emphasize is when you do regalia work, don't skimp. Take the extra time to do more detail and make it very structured. Because sometimes when it comes down to it, is when you no longer need it, you can actually pass these this regalia onto someone behind you. My dad, he had these bustles, and these bustles are actually 30 years old. Growing up, I used to watch him dance, and we used to powwow together and stuff, and I'd always be envious. Someday, I'll get those bustles and whatnot. And it came down to it that my dad got cancer, and there was a powwow locally around here that we had always gone to, and when he was bedridden, he asked me, he's like, well, I think it's time for you to wear these bustles and go out there to that powwow for us. And so I did, and I went to this Red Moon powwow. I danced my hardest with these bustles, and it was very hard to. And at the time, I brought home a first place trophy to him, and that was the last time I actually had with him. So that's why I just want to emphasize, keep these regalias and make them very durable, because you're going to be passing these on to someone later on. So once again, I want to thank everyone for tuning in to our show of Making Regalia. On this episode on getting started into beading. And you know, I want to put out there that if you miss any episodes or you want to like review anything, you can always go to catv47.com. That's where all the episodes are hosted, and you can catch up on anything that you missed. And next episode, I'm going to go through the mechanics on how I do my flat stitch beading. So once again, thank you for everyone for tuning in. Ha-ho.
Catching up on previous episodes of Making Regalia is now easy. Just visit catv47.com. Juaquin's projects and detailed instructions are all accessible on our new website 24/7. Be sure to check out all the CATV47 programs and videos at catv47.com.